This way, we got one.
So as I said, the exciting thing about today is we're celebrating innovation. And so we've brought 3 companies that we'll have throughout the morning's program that will share with us their innovations that will hopefully end our dependence on oil. And what's also exciting is that many of them actually come out of the military. The person you're about to meet from a company, Movable, was in the service for 20 years. And it's just a nice symbiosis from us having an Energy Security Leadership Council who served our country, and then now these people are creating the innovations to end this dependence for national security. So watch the screen about Movable.
This on-demand service model, combined with the rise of technology, makes mobility and makes transportation probably the hottest space right now in tech and in entrepreneurship. Transportation is this fabric that connects all of what we do. So Movable Transit is our company's focus on engaging with public transit agencies across the world to provide mobile ticketing, payments, and big data and business intelligence, enabling the rider to have a seamless way to hop on and off their transportation options with one click of a button, giving transit agencies the enforcement tools to make sure that those systems are reliable. We're doing really everything end-to-end in the transit experience. In a new technology called Ridetap, we're building platforms that enable our apps to speak to other apps and, in fact, embed our services within those applications. Ridetap is a feature that allows any app to access the Movable services through Lyft, through Car2Go, and through other ride provider partners. So in the US, through Movable Transit, we really focus on cities and transit agencies as our core partners, and we know that they in turn want to be connected to these other ride providers. That's the sweet spot that we've been addressing and that Movable is truly going after.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first innovator, Joseph Kopser of Movable Group.
Good morning. So very quick up front, Movable and Movable Transit and our technologies are designed to organize a city's entire ecosystem of transportation, from public transit, car share, bike share, taxis, TNCs, walking and biking. We want to bring it all together to the urban consumer, the person who lives downtown, so that they can make smarter choices about how they get around, so they're not having to feel like they have to drive their car, or worse yet, drive their car by themselves and get stuck in traffic, leading to, of course, them doing nothing but adding fuel literally to this problem of congestion, greenhouse gases, but more importantly, burning that oil that so many of us, because of the topic today, spent lives, treasures, time, talent away from our families to secure that oil. So that's Movable. But let me back up and tell you why I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm here for so many reasons, in a way I feel like a product of this movement. So Fred Smith and what they've done at FedEx to be able to make their vehicles logistically more fuel efficient, I read that stuff and got fired up, because in 2004 I was in Baghdad and I saw firsthand what happens when national security strategy is not synced with an energy security strategy, and what you get is ridiculous situations like I saw firsthand, where we're delivering fuel along the road, IEDs all along the way, to take that fuel, to then put them in our equipment that was not designed for that fight and that time, but were so fuel inefficient. Some of our vehicles, like our tanks, as you know, were getting 2 gallons to the mile. We had generators that were so inefficient that we were wet stacking them because we didn't know how to regulate our microgrid. So that got me totally fired up while I was in the Army about how do we fix this problem? How do we innovate a way out of this solution? But unfortunately, at the time, the military wasn't designed to find the greatest and newest technologies. So while in the military, I tried to find new and innovative technologies to do that. But at the same time, while I was living here in Washington, D.C., in Arlington, just trying to get to and from the Pentagon each morning, my commute was actually getting in my way of daily life. If I drove my car, there was traffic, and if I wanted to stay after and drink a beer in Pentagon City, I couldn't drive my car. Or if I did take the bus, the frequencies in the day, and by the way, when are the schedules and how much are the tickets, it was all so confusing. I said, why hasn't somebody organized this? So I searched for it on the internet, and it didn't exist. I was one of those innovative entrepreneur inventors who was lucky enough to be at the right space and right time, and I didn't even know I had all those titles. I was just a guy trying to get to work. And so I started creating an algorithm that before I knew it, people wanted to see and people wanted to use. And another Army veteran, Craig Cummings, now my co-founder, said, that solution's not only gonna help you get to work sooner, we can turn that into a company. And then when the epiphany hit me and said, wait a minute, if people are getting to work more efficiently, if they're getting to class easier, and if they're getting home from the bar more safely because they're using all their options, that's not just a company, that's a cause. And so it became a passion for me to be able to take all of this focus I had on clean energy and getting new technologies to the warfighter faster so that when they're in Afghanistan or the hills of Afghanistan or the deserts of Iraq, they have the latest equipment. And at the same time, take all my passion for being able to make cities more efficient, to be able to recombine that, I saw an opportunity. So my last assignment in the Army was living and working in Austin, Texas. I was running the Army ROTC department there, and that city is an innovation city. It has the clean energy companies. It had the technology companies. It had the ecosystem for entrepreneurs to be able to create this revolution and innovation. And so we stepped into it. I retired from the Army. We launched Ride Scout, the name of our company before we merged with another company called Globe Sherpa to form Movable. And we launched it to great success. But more importantly, what we launched it to was a public wanting to find a better solution. They are not satisfied stuck in traffic, blowing that fuel out their tailpipe. They wanted a better solution. And the great part about Austin, Texas was simultaneously to launching and building this company that's now Movable, I was also trying to find ways to take these clean energy technologies and put them in the hands of the warfighter. And that led to a Defense Energy Summit to bring all these innovative companies I was discovering and finding in Texas with Pentagon leaders who were needing to find solutions to accelerate them into the hands of warfighter. And from that was created the National Security Technology Accelerator. And so now you know why. As I'm standing here 3 rows from Boone Pickens, after reading the Pickens plan, why for me it's such a thrill because I read your report years ago. I saw your press conference. I saw what you're doing, and like the military veterans I serve with, we took action. And so the greatest resource that I kind of want to end with is more than just the technologies, because they're going to be fabulous. Autonomous vehicles are going to do more than for just energy. What they're going to do for safety, what they're going to do to get your kids, your grandkids home, to be able to allow your grandparents to reconnect with society, not just those that are injured temporarily, but those who are permanently disabled in our society. Autonomous vehicles are going to bring it forward. But we can innovate all we need to in the private sector, but if we're not in good partnership with government, if we're not creating the conditions to allow that innovation, if we can't create a culture that even inside the government procurement system allows for failure, allows for mistakes, folks, if we want to have zero tolerance for an autonomous car that bumps into the back of a bus or runs off the road and hits, and that becomes our excuse for why we don't bring autonomous vehicles to practice, then you just ignored the fact that 36,000 Americans died in this last year, these last 12 months, in regular cars. So the greatest resource is not even the technology, but it's the ability to work together with people. If we can get government, the private sector, and business specifically, all on the same sheet of music, we're not only going to accomplish these things, but we're going to unleash my favorite part in all of this. I'm biased, totally biased, and that is this wellspring of talent, the military veterans that are coming out of service today, Iraq, Afghanistan veterans, who, by all accounts, were put in some pretty austere environments, given sometimes fewer resources than they needed, and then told, make it happen. Take the hill, build the school, dig the well, and open up this marketplace again so we can bring this community back. What my fellow veterans are doing right now is just the tip of the spear. Fred Smith's a great example of that. Vietnam-era veteran, started FedEx, but it's not over yet. Here's the sad part, though, we can do something about. 49% of all veterans after World War II created companies, started companies from scratch. Right now, my peers, the Iraq and Afghanistan war vets, only 6% of us are starting companies and being as innovative as we're seeing and talking about today. So we need to set those conditions, and one of the things I'm very proud about is an organization called The Bunker. If you haven't heard of The Bunker, come find me afterwards. I want to tell you about what we're doing to create opportunities for veterans to start companies, because we're just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we can do and innovate. To set the conditions, because if there's anybody that has more passion or more understanding about what happens if we have a failed national security plan that's not synced with our energy security plan, hey, we were at the tip of that spear. We see what happens when it goes wrong, and I'm going to do everything I can in my power to make it happen. So whether it's new technologies like Movable and what we're doing for cities to make them more able to connect the ecosystem that already exists, whether it's programs like the National Security Technology Accelerator, trying to put these new technologies into the hands of the warfighters more quickly through our procurement system, or whether it's simply The Bunker, trying to find ways to allow entrepreneurs that are veterans to unleash this potential, to take everything they've learned about building teams, about solving problems, and most importantly, not sweating the small stuff. I want to thank you for having me today. I want you to find me later on and ask me any questions, because 10 minutes is barely enough time for me to clear my throat. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of so many of my heroes. Thank you very much.